Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Let me welcome you to MedZone African Motives. I'm back again now with an essay questions, which is still in relation with Economics Grade 10, for the paper that was written in Limpopo Province in 2025. So in March 2025. So this is the last part of our question paper that we did together. So this is the last part of it, which is section C. So we know very well that the section C is an essay question. So that is that. So without wasting much time, let's quickly go to our, our question 4 under section C. So here we are. Here we are on section C. As it says, choose one question, but you're going to attend both question 4 and 5. So you're going to attend them all. So it says answer one question of the two questions in this section in the answer book. Your answer will be assessed as follows. So there is a structure of an essay, also the mark allocation of an essay. We know that our essay has what? Introduction, body, as well as conclusion. So go through that structure. Go through that structure is very important. But now let's quickly attend to question 4. Let's quickly attend to question 4. So here we are on our question 4, as it is discuss in detail the 4 main economic participants in the circular flow of an open economy. Compare the factor of the market and goods market in the economy. So this is our question 4. So those are our questions under question 4. So now let's quickly go to the answers of this question, where we are first going to start by the introduction. Remember that structure that we told about. So here we are on the introduction. Our introduction reads as follows. The circular flow model is a simplification of showing how the economy works and the relationship between income, production, spending in the economy as a whole. So what this means is that the circular flow model, uh, as it says, is the simplification of showing how the economy works. So it, as simple, says it shows how money and goods move between households, business, and government. That is that. For example, a household work for business and earn wages, then use that money to buy goods from the business. So that is what it means. Hope we are together on that. So now let us move on to body, the main part now. Body, the main part. So we are going to talk about the households. That is the first aspect that we were asked to do. If you still remember, we were asked to discuss 4 main economic participants in the circular flow. So here we are. The first one is the household. It says the household consists of an individual, family, or group of people that live together. So that is that. So meaning to say a household can be one person or people living in the same home. For example, a family of 4 living in Pretoria. So that's the household. Households also referred to as consumers. They are also referred as what? As consumers. Meaning to say they buy goods and services for their needs and wants. Example, buying grocery from a supermarket. That is that. Also, households are basic decision-making sector in the economy. So it simply says they decide what to buy and how much to spend. That is that. It further on says they determine what should be produced and how much. So that is that. They determine what should be produced and how much. So that is that. So it means that business produce goods based on consumer demand. It means business, that's what they produce goods based on consumer demand. That is that. Also, households are owners of factors of production. They are owners of the factors of production. So they own land, labor, capital, as well as entrepreneurship. So that is that. Households want to maximize their prosperities. Households want to maximize their prosperities, meaning to say they try to increase their income. They try to increase their income, households. They try to increase their income from that is that. Also, they sell factors of production on the factor of market to earn income. They does what? They do what? They sell factors of production on the factor market to earn income. So it means that households provide labor or rent out property for payment. So the income that the households receive is used to buy goods to satisfy the needs. So it means that they spend money on goods and services. For example, paying for electricity and water. That is that. They can also use it to increase their prosperity levels. So this means that income can be saved or invested. So that is that. So now let us move on to a business enterprise. Let us move on to business enterprises. So here we are on business enterprises. Very important. So as it says, business combine and transform factors of production to produce goods and services. So it means business, they use land, labor, and capital to make products. That is how simple it is, this point. Also, it is the basic productive sector in the economy. So business are responsible for producing goods and services. For example, a bakery produces bread daily. So that is why we are saying it is the basic productive sector in the economy. They buy factors of production from the factor market. So meaning to say business pay wages, rent, and interest to households. So that is that. They sell final goods and services in the product market. So meaning goods are sold to consumers for consumption. They also the aim of business is to maximize profit. The aim of business is to maximize profiting. So business try to earn more revenue than costs. Than cost. So let us move on. Also, it further on says business enterprise strive to keep their income as high as possible and their expenses low. So, meaning to say they increase sales and control costs. They increase sales and control costs. So they can do that by trying by almost to buy raw materials at a cheaper prices. So that is that. So now, let us go to government now. Let us go to government. So government also referred as a public sector or state. So government manages public services and national affairs. So that is that. The purpose of the public sector is to satisfy the collective wants of the people of the country. So it means that government provides services that benefit everyone. Benefit everyone. Like the government providing public health care for everyone. That is that. So it further on says, it provides public goods and services to both households and business enterprises. So that is that. The government provides public goods and services to both households and business enterprises. So the government supplies services used by all citizens and businesses. The government needs people to work for it, therefore it obtains labor from factors of production. So it simply says government hires workers to provide services. So that is that. So we can talk of employing police officers as well as teachers. So that's that. Government must also buy goods and services from the market. So it purchases the equipment and services from businesses. So like buying computers for public schools. So you see, governments also buys goods from the market. Government also spends for injection, money on textbooks and other equipments for schools, healthcare, welfare, military equipments. So it simply says this spending increases money flow in the economy. So they can fund hospitals, social grants, all those things. Government provides infrastructure, for example, roads, railway, and etc. So it builds and maintains facilities needed for economic activity. Also, they receive income in the form of taxes. So it means that government collects money from individuals and business. You can talk of personal income tax paid by workers. So that is that. So now let us now try by all means now to move on to foreign sector. Let us move on to foreign sector. Sorry. Let us move on to foreign sector. So here we are on foreign sector. As it says, a foreign sector refers to international transaction that takes place over political borders. That is a foreign sector. International transactions that are made over political borders. It is all the transactions that take place between different countries. Like we are saying, is a foreign sector. So the transactions that takes place are between different countries. South Africa and Angola, that's an example, if they are trading, if those two countries are trading, so that is that. No country can exist in isolation. Few are totally self-supporting. Meaning to say, each country needs one another. Foreign sectors exist so that countries can trade with each other. So that is as simple as that. Countries will trade because they have shortage of natural resources or goods or services that they cannot provide themselves. So meaning that is why we are saying these countries need each other. So if you don't have natural resources that you need, then we can obtain them from another countries. So that is why we are saying no country can exist in isolation. Countries also trade because they uh, countries also trade because they surplus of natural resources or goods and services that they can produce. So that is that. So now we are to give what additional part, factor and product market. Factor and product market. So factor and product market, you're going to first start by factor market. So factors of production are sold on the factor market. Factors of production. We know factors of production, land, labor, capital. They are sold on the factor market. Households present their factors of production to business enterprise on the factor market and they receive an income. So that is that. So they present them the factors of production. You can talk of land, you can talk of labor, on the factor market. And for that matter, they are going to receive, or in return, they're going to receive what? Income. You can talk of rent now, and then you can talk of land, and then they can rent it and then get what? Income. Government also purchase factors of production on the factor market and pay salaries. So as well as government, they purchase factors of production on factor market, and then they pay what? Salaries. Because they can also hire laborers from the factor market. And then in return, they're going to pay those people for the services that they're going to provide. So they will be paying them salaries. Foreign sector also channels the international capital investment on the factor market. So that is that about factor market. Now we have product market. So in product market, goods and services are sold on the product market. That is true. Business sell their goods and services on the product market and receive spending from the households. And receive spending from the households. That is a product market. Where now we are saying business is the one that sells their goods and services on product market. And they're going to receive spending from households because households are the ones who are going to buy goods and services from the businesses. Government provides public goods and services to households and business on the product market. Because government they are going to buy from the business and provide services to the households. Foreign sector imports and exports final products on the product market. So that is that. So now we are to conclude our question 4. As you know, when we're talking about the structure of the essay, conclusion also forms part of the structure of our essay. In a circular flow model, all sectors of the economy work together to ensure that society's needs are provided for through the creation of goods and services. So that is that. So that is all about question 5. That is our essay on question 5. So now we are on question 4. We are to attend now question 5. So here we are on question 5, which reads as follows. Discuss in detail the effects of business cycles and also how can the government assist the economically vulnerable to participate fully in the economy. That is our question 5. So now let's quickly go to the answers on question 5. Let's quickly go to answers for question 5. So here we are on question 5. Here we are on question 5. So as we know, it has said, discuss in detail the effects of business cycles. How can the government assist economically vulnerable to participate in full economy? So like question 4 that we did, we are first going to start by the introduction. Introduction. So introduction, we know very well that we are to start with it and then come to body as well as conclusion. Hope we are together on that. So here is our introduction. As it says, business cycle refers to the fluctuation in economic activity over time. It is the consecutive period for increasing or decreasing of economic activity. So that is that. So let's quickly go to the body, which is the main part. Main part. So here we are talking about the change in aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Change in aggregate supply and aggregate demand. As it says, during recovery phase, business expect consumers to increase their spending. So it means that after a recession, incomes and confidence rise. So firms expect higher demand. Firms expect higher demand. For example, we can make a practical example. After COVID-19 lockdowns ended, restaurants prepared for more customers. So that is what it means. Business employ more workers and resulting in increased income. So it means that to meet higher demand, firms hire more workers, increasing household income. So that's what it means. Also, it further on say aggregate demand increases. So it simply says total demand for goods and services in the economy rises. For example, people buy more houses, cars, and electronics during expansion. So that is that. So at the peak of the cycle, inflation and government actions will limit consumer spending. So it means a higher prices and policies like higher taxes or interest rates reduce spending. So that is that. So also it talks about reduced spending will decrease aggregate demand. Meaning to say when consumers spend uh, less total demand in the economy falls. When consumers spend less, total demand in the economy falls. For example, if fuel prices sharply, people will reduce travel. If it rises sharply, if it rises, it means the traveling now is going to be reduced. Hope you're together. When production responds to this, aggregate demand will decrease. So many business cut output when demand falls, slowing the economy. That is change in economic growth. That is change in economic growth. So economic growth refers to an increase in the production of goods and services in the economy over a period of time. So it means the economy produces more goods and services. For example, a country produces more food, cars, and technology this year than last year. Hope you're together on that. Also, it is measured by the percentage change in gross domestic product. So it is measured by percentage in GDP. So the growth rate shows how much GDP increases compared to the previous year. That is that. For example, if GDP rises from, let's say, 1 billion to 105 billion, say, the growth is 5%. So that is that. Real GDP is widely used to monitor change in the economy. Meaning to say, real GDP removes inflation to show actual growth. That is that. The growth rate of real GDP is normally higher during the expansion phase. So it is even higher during expansion phase. So the growth rate is higher during expansion phase. It means that so it slows down during the contraction phase. So meaning to say economic activity declines during recession. So that's what it means. For example, we can make an example that the GDP falls by 2% during a downturn. That's what we are trying to say. So that is that. Now we come to change in price level. So it simply says when aggregate demand exceeds the aggregate supply during expansion, price rise and cause inflation. Price rise and cause what? Inflation. So that's what it means. So that is that. So also inflation will be higher during boom. So the government anti-inflationary measures what kick in. So when consumer sentiment changes, consumer spending uh, decreases. So that is that. So now we are to come to um, change in employment. Change in employment. So we are change in employment. So let us move on to change in employment. So this is where we are on change in employment. So during expansion phase, business increase production to meet increased demands for goods and services. So it means during expansion, business increase production. So firms produce more to meet the rising demand. That is that. So business have to employ more workers. So business have to employ more workers. So more production requires more labor. Thus, employment rate increases. thus employment rate increases. So more people will have jobs during expansion. So more people will have what? Job. So during contraction of business cycle, the opposite happens. So it simply says production and employment decrease during the contraction. So that is when now you see the firms or factories retrenches workers during this during a recession. So that. Now we come to the change in exchange rate. Change in exchange rate. So as it says, during prosperity and boom stages of expansion phase, goods are imported to satisfy consumer demand. Goods are imported to satisfy consumer demands. So it simply says that high income increase demand for foreign goods. High income increase demand for foreign goods. People import more smartphones from overseas. You see, that is during that time when a demand, during that time when there is a high income. That is what we're saying. During prosperity, goods are imported to satisfy demand. High inflation makes exports less competitive in foreign market. So it means domestic goods now become more expensive than foreign goods. So that is that. Let's take, for example, a local wine becomes expensive compared to the imported one, to the one that we import. So that is that. Balance of payments with trading partners deteriorates. So it means that imports exceed exports, causing a trade deficit. So a trade deficit is caused by when the imports are more than exports. This puts pressure on the exchange rate of the rand and leads to the depreciation of the value of the rands. So this causes currency depreciation. This causes currency depreciation. So it means higher demand for foreign currency lowers the value of local currency. So that is that. So let us move on to economically vulnerable. Economically vulnerable. There, as it says, contraction phase of the business cycle caused hardships to many people. So contraction causes hardship. Job losses, lower income hit many people because people are to lose job. The slowdown in the economy affect poor children, rural people, older people, and women. So we are saying these groups have fewer financial resources. So the economic recession negatively affect the economic vulnerable because they have poor level of literacy to access information. They are unable to organize themselves. They lack collective effort. So that is that, as we are saying, they have low literacy level. Limited education reduces what? Job opportunities. So that is that. Also lack collective organization, as they cannot easily advocate for support or better wages. So that is that. So now let us come to additional part. Let's come to additional part. Let's come to additional part where it says providing training in skills that are in demand in the job market. Meaning to say, teaches skills needed in the job market. Offering basic education literacy skills to those in need. Meaning to say, improves reading, writing, and numeracy. Providing financial assistance to students from disadvantaged background. So it helps them access higher education. Implementing programs that create jobs. So government funds projects to create employment. Provide training and access to finance small businesses. So meaning to say helps entrepreneurs start or expand businesses. Continue to provide social grants to vulnerable individuals. So you provide what? Social grants. So it means direct income support to vulnerable groups, child support grants, for example. Providing food assistance and vulnerable to households. So you ensure food security during the hardship. Invest in infrastructural development in rural areas. So meaning you improve economic opportunities in rural areas. Collaborate with the private sector to implement projects that promote job creation. So government and business work together to create jobs. So that is that. So now let us move on to our conclusion now. Let us move on to our conclusion. As it says, understanding of business cycle will assist individual policymakers to make an informed decision. So this is the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Please share with others, and please don't forget to hit the subscription button. Thank you very much.